Well, good afternoon. I'm a little bit late today, but better late than never at all. So this is Tommy G. I'm the biotech exec. Weekly Monday bookend. We haven't got a Friday bookend yet, but we have a Monday one. So trying to kick things off beginning. I think Monday's a good day to do this because, usually from what I remember from my corporate career, it was when you did a lot of forecasting. You had your team meetings and so on. I've got someone that wants to come up to the chair here, this little character. This seemed to be the ideal time to really try and help a lot of other corporate execs, business owners, leaders, etc., kick off the week in the right way. And we've started talking this month about what I call, and uses a perfect metaphor, the perfect the three-legged stool of health. This is Neo, by the way, and we can talk about dogs and stuff later, and what they do for health, which is not the reason why I got this guy. It's part of the reason, apart from the fact that he's absolutely adorable when he behaves. But we want to talk about exercise and what exercise is the right exercise for me. Now, firstly, I don't want to overcook this. Well, someone's licking my hand to death here. First thing is, walking or doing anything is the best exercise in the beginning. And then it's about consistency, right? Getting those 1% changes that compound. And we all know about compounding interest and how it's not like a straight line. It kind of tends to curve up, right? This is the benefit you get once your body knows that you're serious, right, about change. Some of the changes happen pretty quickly. Other ones take a bit of time. But the thing is, this is going to become part of your daily routine. So where we're talking about the three-legged stool of health, and we're talking about eating, moving, right, which we're talking about today, sleeping, which we'll talk about probably next week. And of course, at the top, we've got the seat, which is this part here, right, the brain, and all the psychology and the program or the software that's running in the hardware that forms of the brain. And then we've got, of course, if it's a strong stool, we've got the legs connected by a footrest, which is, if you want a parallel for that or a metaphor, the footrest is the circadian rhythm, right? The time of when you do these things. So let's talk about exercise. So believe it or not all exercise is the same for every person, and not every exercise is the best for every person. So what does that mean? Well, I know I've gone through this many times. I'm not going to go deep into it now, but genetically, mum and dad loaded the gun. We pulled the trigger in our lifestyle. And what's the right lifestyle for us? Because we're all these different sort of bodies, right? And there are three main shapes of body, and you can look these up in your own time, but you start with the sort of pretty slim, wiry ectomorph, and then the second one would be, then we have the mesomorph, which is a bit more of your muscly type of individual, and then you're going to get more heavier set, bigger bones into the endomorph, and so they're more the type that does weights, and they tend to benefit a lot from doing weight training. The mesomorph's a bit more explosive, fast sprinter, right? And they all kind of morph into each other, but they tend to be the three general categories. And so there's sort of three general genomes or sets of genes, right? And that's where you'll fit into one of those broad three categories. Now, I fit pretty well between the ectomorph and the mesomorph, so I can build muscle relatively easily versus, let's say, an ectomorph, which tends to be more, they almost tend to look waif looking. They're very thin, they don't have a lot of muscle, they've got thin bones, right? And it actually affects their character and certain talents and so on they have as individuals as well. We'll go into that at a later stage. But when we're looking at exercise, and my story was that I accidentally fell into doing triathlon after losing 20 kilos of weight. I'm sorry, I lost about 10, 11, 12 kilos, then lost another 8 as I started changing other things, as I learned about my physiology and epigenetics and a whole bunch of other sort of health science stuff as a biohack. And it was interesting to have fell into doing endurance, starting with having lost weight at the Singapore Sports Medical Center and getting on their program for 3 months, and lost about 11 or so kilos. Doing some eating, moving type stuff that I learned there, but was nowhere near as efficient as the stuff that I do today, and knowing what's best for me with a lot of the health technology that I use in my program. So, fell into running long distance. First thing was training up over 6 months for a half marathon. Then took a few lessons of doing a bike. Then did duathlon and thought, wow, this is kind of fun, and I enjoyed the bike. And then I thought, what about doing something I really hate, like swimming? I couldn't swim 50 meters. And near the pretty well the end of my triathlon career, ended up swimming a couple of kilometers, 1.9, whatever it is, in a half Ironman. And so that was the journey over about, how long was that? About eight years. And through that, I learned a lot about my body, but fell into the fact that this endurance stuff I was reasonably good at, and my body seemed to enjoy it. And it was easier for me to do than the other average bear. What do you know? I then start learning a lot about health science stuff, and learning about epigenetics and personal optimization and so on, and learn that actually swimming and biking and running, and in fact I learned rowing, were the ideal sports and exercise for my body, right? And so I thought, right? And it was, without me pushing myself, I was like in the age category, probably in about the top 10%, and then the top 20% on the open category of this endurance sort of sports stuff, without really feeling like I was really pushing it, because I wanted to go out there and enjoy it. I wasn't wanting to be a hero or a professional at the sport, and it was just something I could do that I could enjoy, that worked for my body and keeping me healthy. Now, that's all great, but you also want to have a look at other things like mobility, and when you start looking at like core, my epigenome, or being a sort of a mix between a meso and an ectomorph, right? We tend to suffer a bit around the lower back area. What do you know? Here I am at 54, and where most of my physical pain happens to be in my lower back. Now, some of that can also be past emotional stuff, etc., especially when it comes to more the musculature of the issues there. As they say, the issue's in the tissue. As it moves energetically, without me getting too woo-woo, it then starts to form where there isn't enough energy going. And so that's something I have to work on and make sure my core is good. So when we start talking about planks and side planks, etc., these things become interesting to keep firm around there. And of course, other emotional, mental, spiritual stuff that you can get into as well, as far as redirecting energy throughout your body in wanting to optimize. But yeah, exercise is specific to individuals. Now, one that's generic is walking. If you're not doing anything and you're a bit of a couch potato, or you're sitting down all day, walking is fantastic medicine to take the first step, if you will, pardon the pun. And if you've got a canine or a dog, like I've got here with Neo, then you're kind of forced in a way with the responsibility to walk the little guy or gal morning and night, if it's you doing it. So it forces you to get out there, which is great, and you get to connect a bit. In fact, one thing I got to say, side note, having a dog, I've never connected with so many people. And as a lot of people that do know me, I connect with a lot of people. Well, it kind of got multiplied. Walks in the markets, the organic markets and so on, have become twice as long, because dogs kind of connect and hang out together, as I learned, and you get to meet some fantastic people. So it's quite amazing. So that brings me to the point of being able to do this stuff also with other people. Now, us endurance dudes tend to actually probably be more loner type trainers, and with the exercise, etc. But if you are one of these other health types, like if the biggie set you get from a mesomorph to an endomorph, right? Big bone, big muscle people that their body loves weights. And when I work with executives and I get to analyze where they sit on this like 360 wheel of these three health types, they feel judged, and there's a bit of self-shame in the fact that they don't run a lot. Well, they don't have to run a lot. And their bodies weren't built to run a lot. They were built to lift heavy shit, right? And they get so much relief when they learn that. So yeah, it's great because I love lifting heavy stuff. What do you know? So if you find the right exercise for you, not only is it right for your body, but it actually feels better and easier, and you're more motivated to do it. But baseline, walking if you're doing nothing is the first great step. Same as when you're eating, getting off the white processed white carbs, which I advise my execs with, is the first thing that I ask them to do. Is just get off the white processed carbs. It's a first micro step, but a fundamental, basic one, but a big one to take in starting to allow your body to kind of reset and optimize to where it can start getting into that state of homeostasis or equilibrium and balance, right? If it's constantly having to fight to get good nutrients out of empty calories, or you're having too much of something which could be toxic for you, may not for other people, right? So your actual fuel mix, as we talked about last week, is also one of these other interconnected factors with doing the right exercise. And when you get these three things along with sleeping proper at the right time and getting the right balance, let's say, of your REM and deep sleep, when these three things start working well together, it's amazing how things start to sort out in your body, and you put it in the best position to be at its optimum and fending off different diseases. And, we're all dying about 73% of the time, if you believe the World Health Organization, of chronic disease. And that takes years for chronic disease to become chronic disease. And I'm talking about number one killer, 50% of the time, not 99, not the 3% or whatever the latest stat is on the latest phase that we're going through in the world with an unnamed virus. But 73% of the time, 73%, I'm going to say it again, 73% of the time, we don't have chronic disease. 50% of what chronic disease we're dying from is, deaths, 50% of the time in the Western developed world is related to heart. And about a third happens to be cancer. These are the big killers. And it takes time to get those things to come out as a symptom called a heart attack, let's say, or cancer. And you don't want, that's a downstream effect, which can be fatal. You don't want to get there. So you want to check a lot of things earlier. So a lot of my, well, not a lot, all my clients that come on board get baselined. And one of the big things we do is check all their bloods first up so that we can see where they're at to the goals where we need to get to with regards to wellness. So that's about it. I'm going to leave it here, a little micro training there if you want to learn some more. Also, I do have this all on video. If you go to the Corporate Alchemist Project, which is a partnership with my brother and partner in crime on the Corporate Alchemist Project, Adrian Hanks, who every Tuesday, that is tomorrow, we're going to be doing our live to LinkedIn and the other platforms by StreamYard. Great product, by the way. And you can also go to TommyGallant.com and hit me up there, or on my LinkedIn profile, or other messaging connections that you have with me, whichever. If you want to have a one-on-one session, which I'm happy to do, just to see where I can help, and that discovery call, and give away some value right there and then. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Have a great start to your week. Times are different right now, and everything that looks like a really grey cloud in my experience, always ends up having some silver lining. And we are in a state of great change right now. There is no doubt about that. And I think the tide is starting to turn. I think where we're headed right now is starting to get very interesting. You may think that in a negative sense. The other side of it, I'm seeing it, and the positive that can come out of where humanity is at right now. And it's all coming down to choices that each of us are making. And that's what makes the difference in my coaching of executives as well. You know, it's funny how they come to me for what they want versus, as we go through the discovery and the exploration, what they actually need. So I look forward to the opportunity to be able to provide the same to your, and happy to have a call because I just love connecting with people, learning about them. I'm a perpetual curious human being, and all about the evolving truth, which has a lot to do with our belief system. So that was the longest wrap up of all time. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you tomorrow on the Corporate Alchemist Project at 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time with Adrian. Otherwise, go to the corporatealchemistproject.com page, scroll down, you'll see a sizzle reel of a video series where you'll be able to just automate yourself in being able to learn and actually execute on the things that I advise on around optimizing wellness. And we've got Adrian on there too with emotional, mental, and spiritual stuff as well, where for those that want to go to the Obi-Wan Kenobi level. All right, guys, I'm out of here for the third time. See you on the next one. Bye.